Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whichever part of the world and whatever time zone you're joining us from. Welcome. Welcome to the 2022 edition of the Black Consciousness Festival, where we're focusing on healing and reconnection. The Black Consciousness Festival is a global platform that connects people of African descent with each other by sharing and encouraging exchange through information, traditions, histories, intentions, traumas, celebrations, legacies, stories connecting to pride, power, and practice. Our inaugural year was in 2020, where we created a month of conversations and activities around topics of Black consciousness. In 2021, we had a few events: a youth festival, a weekend of conversations on reparations, and in November, conversations on shift, as we explored the many ways in which we, as people of African descent, shared and rebirthed elements of ourselves. The recordings of all these conversations are available on our website, theblackconsciousnessfestival.com, and our YouTube channel. As you listen to the conversations, we encourage you to be kind to yourself. Pause, breathe consciously, move, and appreciate all that you are. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. Enjoy.
Hi, good morning all, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to the Black Consciousness Festival 2022, where our theme is healing and reconnection. It is my honor and my pleasure today to introduce two amazing individuals who I'm sure will engage you. Our conversation lead is Taika Phillip. Taika is a creative entrepreneur based here in Trinidad and Tobago, and she's been involved in the creative industry and everything possible. Taika is the quintessential Caribbean woman who has her feet firmly grounded in this space and understands, what it means to be a Caribbean and a global citizen. So welcome, Taika. Joining Taika today is another amazing individual, Jason Hospitalis. Jason was born and raised in Digger Martin. And over the last 20 years, he's worked tirelessly to craft, design, and integrate the spectrum of his historical, cultural, and memorial heritage. In his approach to the arts, Jason has integrated his composing, his drumming, his singing, painting, and sculpting. So he's an artist totally, within the multiplicity of forms that unfold from within him. Jason utilizes, interestingly, the ancestors' potent voices within his DNA to lead him to record and exhibit his perceptions about life and memory in Trinidad and Tobago. He's also integrated, like many other artists, folk memory and African experiences of the Middle Passage. So welcome, Jason, and I hand over to you and Taika. See you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Welcome, Jason. Welcome to the Black Consciousness Festival 2022. It's an honor to share space with you. Thank you so much.
Yes, it is a pleasure to be on this panel of discussion. I feel somewhat privileged.
Awesome. I want to start off the line of questioning with, when was the first time you had a drum in your hands?
Well, I was talking to your colleague earlier and he asked me a similar question. I've been birthed into a musical family. My father, Paul Hospitalis, he was the captain of Lara Brothers, the Lara Brothers Parang Group. And from a very early age, I was exposed to music. I was telling your colleague that I believe even before I was actually born, I was hearing music in the womb, in my mother's womb. Because she was right behind my father with going to the Parang ceremonies and and spaces and places. So what would have happened as I was born in February. So all December prior to my birth, I would have been up and down in my mother's womb, listening to parang. So when I was at a very young age, I had access to musical instruments.
Great. Awesome source. So just like your bio says, it's in your DNA.
Indeed.
So I'm going to jump right in and let's begin the conversation about healing and reconnection. And I want to, from your expert opinion, discuss how powerful not just music, but specifically drumming is, and whether it is you're playing drums or listening to drums or dancing alongside drums. Do you think that drums hold healing power?
All right, so that's two questions, right? What I will answer is the first one, right? Which speaks about the healing attributes of drumming and listening to drumming. There's a word in Yoruba, in the Yoruba language, called afoshe or afoashe, which speaks to the power of word and song. You know how the Rastafarian community would say word, song, and power. The power of word and song is very, very beautiful, powerful, needed, important, and so forth. Drumming, very specifically drums and drumming, has with it a song vibration, right? That would resonate in various ways. You know, scientists nowadays have been able to discover, have been able to identify certain healing attributes relative to certain tonalities, tonal values, and tonal variation relative to song. So in a very scientific and specific way, song vibration does have healing. And because the drum is able to facilitate tonal accentuations, there's definitely healing attached to drumming and listening to drumming. Now, even more specifically now, the way African drums are made, African drums and indigenous type drums are made with, first we have the wood, which is gotten from a tree, hollowed out, and prepared in such a way where it can amplify the sound. Now, the skin of the drum is usually an animal skin. More times is a goat skin. Sheep skin is used at sometimes. Cow skin is used for certain types of drums. The skin of a deer is also used, right? In certain cultures, we have things like lion skin and all that is used to cover drums, right? So the healing attributes of wood and animal skin, I suppose I could even speak about that too, right? And then playing the drum, as a drummer who plays the drum, there's a certain kind of, just the activity, you know, the physical exertion that is involved in transmitting this song is healing by itself. From a physical point of view, in terms of, you know, being active, the sweat that pours from a drummer's skin after playing for a number of minutes. And oftentimes drumming is done for hours. So sweat and physical exertion has its healing benefits, as we all know. And then the tonal variation and value of the song, and then coupled with the various types of songs that are sung to accompany the drum, all have its healing value and quality, right? So I think I answered 2 questions there.
Yes, you did. You did. So I do want to get into the skin conversation in terms of how the drums are made and how that also contributes to, in certain ways, healing as well too. Because there might, audiences might be like, but you have killed an animal. How does that contribute to healing?
Well, okay.
So maybe
I mean,
talk us through the process of actually making a drum.
Right. So I may not be talking too much to the vegetarians, but certainly people who eat meat will understand that you have to kill the animal to be able to eat it. And what is done in traditionally with acquiring the skin of the animal to make the drums, it is where animal is sacrificed for the purpose of food. And the skin, and we try not to waste resources. The goat skin has been used from time immemorial to cover drums. I can't speak to the first time it was made or who brought the technology to human beings to be able to construct such a valuable instrument. But certainly the skin is removed from the carcass of the animal and put to dry. Right? There are various processes in which you could dry the goat skin. Usually we just stretch it on a pallet or a piece of wood and let it get some 2 or 3 days of good sunlight. Sometimes burnt ashes are spread on the skin to facilitate that drying process. And then after the skin is dried and the wood or the shell is prepared. So I have here in my installation, I have an example of a shell that doesn't have a goat skin on it as yet, right? Which is like this. Can you all see?
Yes.
Right.
Ooh,
I've attempted to put some designs on it and so on, right? I've attempted to begin some design fundamentals on the shell. And this is a mango tree, a mango wood, mango shell, right? So we call this a drum shell, right? And the goat skin is placed on top of the shell, and there are 2 metal rings usually that we put just below the goat skin to clamp the skin, and then it's tied in a specific way with a certain type of pattern of tying to tune the drum. So I have also in my installation, if you could see, some goat skin here. Right? Can you see this goat skin?
Yes, I'm seeing it there.
Right? So this is a dried goat skin that has been prepared and will certainly be used to cover a drum in time to come. Right? So that's a brief, very summarized rendition or articulation of how a drum is made.
So I want to get slightly political here, just slightly,
Okay.
and asking the question, is drumming still illegal in Trinidad and Tobago?
No, it is not. No, it is not. Drumming is not illegal anymore, but there certainly was a time under the colonial rule where we would have had, as Africans, to hide to be able to perform our traditional rites.
So now that we have that as I guess solved for many people who didn't know or weren't informed, how did the inability to practice our rights as Africans affect our community when we're unable to congregate and unable to practice what is inherently ours, which is the practice of drumming? How did that affect
You mean
us?
in those days when it was illegal?
Yes.
Well, I don't think we ever had an inability to practice. There was a bit of challenge associated with practicing our traditional rites. But it never stopped us. They would have had stories that many of y'all would have heard probably, where the colonial estate owners would have heard drumming during the night into the wee hours of the morning, deep in the forest. And the next morning, they get up and the human resources are a bit less. You know, the drumming activity during those hours of the night into the morning would have helped facilitate a lot of slaves to be able to be freed from this from the space, the plantation. Drumming facilitated a lot of escape, you know, during those hours. So they would have noticed they heard drumming, and every time, and what it was a pattern that occurred, and that is one of the reasons they made it illegal, because they realized every time we hear this drumming in the middle of the night into the wee hours, we get up in the morning and we have a few slaves less on the plantation, you know. So I don't think it was a matter of really not being able to practice our traditional rites and so on, but we just had challenge with doing it. There was a lot of destruction of drums and persecution, physical persecution of human beings for being able to practice and play drums and chant and sing the music, which I'm hoping to get a chance to do in this little meeting, to share with you some traditional songs, which also speaks to the healing attributes of drumming. Because some of the songs we sing traditionally that have been passed down from generation to generation speaks a lot to healing, very specifically too. And we have divinities in the pantheon of divinities that have been placed here to guide and nurture the development of mankind from time immemorial to this current time. They have specific divinities who are responsible in a very specific way for healing.
And I want to go into the reconnecting as well, in terms of I'm hoping that there is you know, some specificity in terms of how drumming connects us Caribbean people to a space that we were stolen from and brought to the Caribbean. So that reconnecting with Africa through drumming. Is it that when you learn to drum, you're just learning to drum? Or is it that the elders would teach the younger ones, when we drum, we're paying homage to the space that our ancestors came from by way of drumming specific rhythms or singing specific songs? How does the information get passed down?
Well, two questions again there, I suspect. Because of the power of word and song, I believe that when you hear drums, something is awakened in your DNA. Through the power of the song vibration, something happens. They start to tap your leg. They start to bounce with the rhythm. Something happens there. And there's a connection being made right there, simple as it is. Some people come here on the planet with a predisposition for the arts. Some people come with gifts. So they have some people who naturally have the rhythm, and you will find young children, 3-4 years old, that are able to play the drum in rhythmic harmony and sing and syncopated rhythms, that they are able to do that so naturally. So as I say, some people have it natural, but certainly these things could be taught. If you have the patience to learn, you would be able to learn. And yes, there is a genetic connection that could be made, and that is made. from time to time, with people drumming and the ancestors and the benevolent forces of creation. But certainly, a knowledgeable person in the craft could pass on the information. And so those are two ways in which the thing could be downloaded. Because they have stories about people getting a drum and going up in the mountains by themselves and learning a lot of rhythms and a lot of secrets relative to drumming and the drums, by themselves, with themselves, and connecting with nature. And then there are also, as we know, the student-teacher relationship.
Niceness. So what rhythms you're showing us today? How did you learn these? Did you go up any mountain, or were these taught to you by elders in the community?
I think I in my experience, I have a bit of both experiences. You know, I have a bit of both. I was fortunate to have a lot of great teachers, and I will take time to mention a few here. Olorare Oramfe Jakuta Shango Olokila Masatunji. He's one of the pioneers here in the island who made the awareness of the tradition most abundant from a long time, you know. There's a man named Lester Osuna, better known as Ogunrinyola Ogunbowale. He's also one of my teachers who I would have learned a lot from. They have some of the other elders who I know by certain names like Baba Sam and Baba Ford. You know, there were drummers like Baba Naka, you know, who also is an elder now, who is one of the pioneering elders who did a lot for drumming in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, Baba Naka. We have people like Oga Onilu, Jaja Oga Onilu, who passed away not too long ago from Kora, and his children continue to carry on his legacy. Baba and Modupe, you know, they continue to carry on the legacy of drumming. They would have been good people to engage this discussion as well. Also, who else can I call quickly? Let me try and remember. There are so many names that I could call, but those are some of my teachers relative to drumming and the tradition. I'm going to play for you a rhythm. Right, this drum here is called the bow. You know, like a bow and arrow. This is called the bow, but it can also be called a Congo or a Bembe. Right, and it is one of the three drums used in traditional Yoruba ceremonies, Orisha ceremonies. So we have this drum, the bow, this small one called the omele, which is played with two sticks. And mind you, these drums are covered on both sides, have goat skin. So you could play either side. And it's different to the hand drums, which I have here. I have two djembes here. Right, we know this West African percussion instrument is a djembe, which is a hand drum, more associated with festival and festivities. This is a congos, right? I have another third drum. This is the third drum, which is the center, or the bembe, which is played with these three, right? And these drums are stick drums and are more associated with ceremony. So they are more ceremonial drums. So I'm going to play a couple hand of drums for you. Audio song in there.
You're singing good. I'm ready.
All right. So one of the beats that we play is the heartbeat, called the bow. Right? The heartbeat, better known as the bow. It goes something like this. Barabo Mojuba, Are Shubarabo Mojuba, Adamande Gori Shubarabo Mojuba, Dalek by Tamande kori Eshu Arako Motuba Dalekba Eshu. So Eshu is the one saluted first. I salute Olodumare, the supreme intelligence. Olodumare, Eleda, Alaye, Alabara Juro. I salute Olonimoro Olofin, the Olodumare, those are some of the names and nomenclatures used to designate song and word to the divine intelligence, the cosmic intelligence, the supreme being, supreme power, light, and love. Those are some of the ancient words used to call what we call these days as God. But Eshu, who I sang for just now, is the custodian of the sacred ashe. He is the divine messenger, the divine linguist. He is the one saluted first, the supervisor of all rituals. And even now I take the opportunity to ask Eshu Ilegba to supervise this discussion and pay attention to what we are saying and doing in this panel. Right? So Eshu has songs like Abo Ilegba Bukeng Keng Abo Labroye Bukeng Keng Abo Ilegba Bukeng Keng Abo Labroye Bukeng Keng Abo Apolona Abo Apolona Abo Apolona Abo Apolona Eshubo Libode Eshubo Libode Eshubo Libode Papa Eshubo Libode. Now, that heartbeat is usually accompanied with two other drummers. One who will sit, I would sit on the furthest right. The drummer playing this smaller drum would sit on the furthest left, and there's a center drummer. Now, the one on the furthest left playing this drum will play with two sticks like this, and I will be keeping that rhythm, that bow, the heartbeat, and he will be playing something like this. Right, so so the combination of the bow, the center, and the omele creates a very beautiful song signature. I will sing also, since we're talking about healing, there's an Orisha called Osain, right? Osain is associated with the medicine pot of herbs. He is the Orisha who is the custodian of the knowledge embedded in all plants. And he has the ability to cure any illness with plants and combination of plants. Right? So as a healer, he is one that we salute, not just for healing, but for expressing gratitude and thanksgiving for his appointment on this planet. All right, so he has songs like Ode Osain Tukutu Oloro Tukutu Oloro Di Osain Tukutu Oloro Ode Osain Tukutu Oloro Tukutu Oloro Di Osain Tukutu Oloro Saja Ode Osain Baba Tukutu Oloro Tukutu Oloro Di Osain Tukutu Oloro. So just to give you a brief sneak peek into that side of things. Now, I will be playing the heartbeat, the Omale man playing what I showed you just now, and there's a center drummer who fills in the gaps. And each Orisha has a different hand pattern. So if I was playing for Osain in the center, it will be like. so that is an O sign hand. But if I was singing for, let's say, Oshun, who is the mother of the river, mother of abundance, the one who is endowed with sensuality and wit, associated with sweetness. Her songs are, she has songs like, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, like a ocean, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, yeah, like a ocean, yeah, 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 oh, ocean, ocean, oh, I'm ready, ocean, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, ocean, oh, I'm ready, ocean, Bashikumore, Alangala, Villa, Fiosu, Alangala, Villa, Fiosu, Alangala, Perekere, Ocean, Gada, Villa, Fiosu, yeah, follow me, Ayaba. So these songs are all patakis, all orikis as we call them, all praise songs. And they have been passed down from generation to generation. And it's a sort of call and response type of engagement where the chantwell or the singer calls and the congregation answers the call. So it's a call and response type of engagement. So if you would just humor me a bit, and let's try a little call and response. How good is your singing voice?
I can try. I can try.
Okay, great. Right, I appreciate your willingness to engage. So this is how it goes. I'm going to sing. Oricha ye la la je mariwo. That is my call. And your answer is yeah, yeah, wa.
Yeah, yeah, wa.
Beautiful. Yeah, Oricha ye la la je mariwo. Yeah, yeah, wa. Oricha ye la la je mariwo.
Yeah, yeah, wa.
Oricha ye la la je mariwo.
Yeah, yeah, wa.
Yeah, Oricha ye la la je mariwo.
Yeah, yeah, wa.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, there's a little delay on my device between the call and the answer. So I won't be able to really play the drums where this exchange is happening, but I'm glad that you engaged me a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. I am very curious about the different uses of different drums. So you were saying one set of drums are for ceremony and the
Right.
others are for, yes, explain.
So a drum like this is a small djembe, right? This is more associated with festival and festivities. So let's say you have a birthday celebration or anniversary or a wedding. And in every ceremony or festival, either drum could be played. But the djembe is more associated with festivity and it is a hand drum, right? And it affords the drummer to be a little more articulate, so to speak. Right, so what happened is I'm going to play a few hands on the djembe to give you an idea of some of the folk rhythms that we play here in the island. Now, a lot of our influence, our African influence here in Trinidad, came from the West African side of the continent. We have influence mainly from Nigeria, but we also are from Benin and parts of Sierra Leone and so on. Senegal and so on. So The djembe. There was a time when some Senegalese came to Trinidad. I can't remember the year. It was an exchange, I believe, for emancipation. And they brought with them the talking drum and the djembe. And a lot of local drummers were amazed at the type of versatility of this drum. So it's shaped like a champagne glass, right? As you can see. I'm going to play this bigger one too before we finish, right? But this one is my personal favorite, this little one, right? It has a very deep bass and a very fine edge, right? There are three major tones in a drum, right? We call it the bass, the solo, and the variation. Now this drum is not tuned very well, but I like how it's tuned, right? And we have songs like the Calypso. So that's like a Calypso rhythm, very basic Calypso rhythm, right? And then we have something what we call the Carib or the Back to Africa, which is like so that song and song with the Carib or the Back to Africa beat is a song that we sing every 4 years in this island. It is associated with the leap year.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yes.
I did not know that.
It
That
is
is
one of
amazing.
my most. It is one of my most favorite songs. Right? Alofa makova ye. Alofa makova la do rumole ye ameikopa. Amafiri amayeku ye amofi. Kaisa ye alaro ye akaife ye ameikopa. And also, it's associated with the energy of Obatala, who is the father of the Orishas. He is one of the more primordial divinities, right? They even have a creation story that is associated with Obatala. And he is we call him the king of the white cloth. And when you see they have Obatala offering or Elofa, Elofa is the aspect of Obatala that I just sung for, that song was for. And Elofa is celebrated every 4 years on the leap year. Right, so
That's so beautiful.
that was two. Yes, sir. So that was two rhythms. We have one that I like to play as well. I am not much of a hand drummer. I more play the ceremonial drums, but I have a little thing with hand drumming, and I could keep a rhythm and join with more experienced drummers, right? So there's one called the Avalo, which is I could also, it will be remiss of me if I don't mention the Nyabingi drumming, right, which is associated with Rastafarian tradition, right? The Rastafarian tradition was birthed out of the African experience and out of the rebellious efforts to regain indigenous sovereignty over our person as human beings on planet Earth, right? And they came up with a style of drumming called the Nyabingi. Now, Nyabingi, loosely translated, not loosely, Nyabingi is an Arab Amharic word that means death to the oppressors, right? So that is a very powerful statement. Death to the oppressors and death to oppression. But more specifically, death to the black and white oppressors, right? So Nyabingi is about blood, fire, and tears. And their drumming is a very slow and powerful type of drumming. I say fly away home to Zion, fly away home. One bright morning when my work is over, I will fly away home. Now, the drumming with Nyabingi also utilizes three sets of drummers. They have a big drum, they call it thunder drum. And it plays while the heartbeat is playing, they also call it the heartbeat. Right? They also call it the heartbeat. And this is the heartbeat, the 1, 2. Right, so the heartbeat is played and there's a person cutting and there's the thunder drum that accompanies everything and brings everything in a kind of cohesive syncopation, you know? So yeah.
So with these frequencies, so there's a lot of what you've played so far is also in some instances used as like the building blocks for a lot of contemporary music.
Yes.
So people may recognize the rhythms that are being played, but I'm wondering now if the use of these ceremonial and in some instances religious music being taken from its traditional space and being used in a contemporary space for music that is played in parties, etc. What are the thoughts on that transition?
It's all valid. It's all valid. Evolution of our spirituality is something that must occur and has to occur. And music, you know, Bob Marley said, when the music hits you feel no pain. And the party setting is a space, is an arena where people could just release a bit, you know, using dance and listening to music, you know, so that in my book, right, you might get a different answer from someone else, but in my book, it's all good. It's part of the evolution of the thing.
So, final question before you play your favorite drum in the back, your champagne djembe. Any any words of guidance or suggestions for folks who don't know about African drumming, or aren't sure whether or not they should send their children to learn how to play African drums, any words of wisdom or guidance for them?
Well, I would coin one of the phrases one of my teachers would always say to me. He would say, "Go brave," go brave, and I would add to that, feel free to engage music, and the percussion side of music relative to, and specifically relative to drums, and more specifically African drums, because it's all part of our folk memory. It's part of our genetic record. It's in our DNA. Once you hear the drums, whether you are familiar with it or not, you can't help but feel to move, even if it's just a little bit. And the thing is, I would, as I say, go brave, learn it. It's good to learn it just as much as, we in Trinidad here, our national instrument is the steel drum, the steel pan. And I encourage everyone who is Trinidadian to learn how to play the pan, and find some way to get that percussion experience part of your life, part of your experience. So be encouraged. Go brave and be encouraged is my words. Those are my words.
Beautiful. Go brave. I love that.
And be
What
encouraged.
What are you gonna play for us now, Jason? I'm so excited. You're playing earlier, and my pulse raised up. I was like, "Hey, what's happening?"
Yeah, I wish I had 3 more drummers to help me, but what I will do is sing a few songs for you, right? So la la la. Let me get some.
For those of you who are just joining us, this is Jason Hospitalis, our panelist for this discussion of healing and reconnecting through drums. And he's going to be playing some lovely music for us as we wrap our conversation. Over to you, Jason.
Yeah. La, la, Ogun la la la, Ogun la Monday, Ogun la la la, Ogun la 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 la Monday, Ogun yeah, everybody stop. Me, Baba, Bossa, Americo, Palacheco, yeah, I'm in my letter, yeah, follow me, Baba, Bossa, Americo, Palacheco, yeah. Ocho si, Ailada, o de mata se, Ocho si, Ada, o de mata se, Ocho si. Ailada, ode mata se, ocho se, ailada, ode mata, shire, ode mata, shire, ode mata, shire, ode mata, aigalipe, ilodo, ode mata, polona, aigalipe, ilodo. Mata colona, Aigalita ilodo de mata colona. Olokul, Shamilade, Popomi, Popodo, Olokul, Shamilade, Popomi, Popodo. Asambe kompebe kotima Ensemble compéré, Kotima, y componiche. Ensemble compéré, Kotima, Kotima et Roumole. Ensemble compéré, Kotima, y componiche. Ensemble compéré, Kotima, Kotima. Ensemble compéré, Kotima, y componiche. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Yahweh, 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 Kolojo, Yahweh, Yahweh, Kolojo, Sambeko, 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 Kola ile baba rabo, Kola ile baba rabo, Kola ile baba sheke, Kola ile baba sheke, Kola ile baba ile ko. Ile baba ile, ile baba ile, ile baba ile. Ah, Jaja o. No. If I had 3 drummers and a few voices, it would be a little easier because I am calling and answering and drumming. So it's a bit much, you know.
You're doing all of the things. You're chief cook, bottle washer, waiter. But nonetheless, beautiful, beautiful, amazing. I'm like, just like you said, it's in our DNA. We have a predisposition to move to this music, to feel it in your spirit, feel it in your soul.
Yes.
My foot tapping in my head. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm looking like a crazy lady over here.
It's natural, it's natural. You know?
Beautiful. I want to say thank you so much, Jason, for joining Black Consciousness Festival 2022. I know Erica Ashton is here with us, and she's going to round up our conversation. Erica, are you happy? We had Jason on, we had music, we had drumming, you get to dance.
Jason, thank you so much, Taika. We have to organize with the other drummers and the singers because I was here moving and grooving and singing along with you. You couldn't hear me, but I was responding, you know?
Right.
It was such a wonderful and healing and magnificent conversation. And I want to thank you, Taika, and thank you, Jason, for sharing your gift and your knowledge and your energy. And it's like, oh my word, I am wired and ready to go. So thank you again for saying yes to us at the Black Consciousness Festival. I want to wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.
And we will be in touch again where we will be dancing and moving and singing and engaging with what is naturally, with what, as you say, is in our DNA.
Yes,
thanks again.
Yes, you're welcome. And thanks for having me. So I would just like to say, thank you also to the benevolent forces of creation who have guided and governed and nurtured the development of mankind from ancient times to this current time. I give thanks to the custodians of the sacred Ashe and Supreme Intelligence Olonimoro.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Ashe.
Continue to enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you.